welcome back to my channel. So today I have a non-bookish video, which is kind of my first one, but I still wanted to share this experience. Over the weekend I flew down to Florida and took place in one of the RunDisney races, which, not necessarily Run Disney, but like running any type of race has always been a dream of mine. I've only ever been to Disney one time in my life, when we went for a school choir trip my freshman year of high school, and I didn't really feel like I experienced everything I wanted to then. So I had always wanted to go back to Disney, and it just kind of made sense to do this. It was truly just like a whirlwind. Like, everything was so much fun, but it flew by. So I have a couple of clips that I took on my phone during the race, and just like at the parks I have some pictures and stuff, but definitely not enough to like make a full video or anything. But I wanted to kind of do like a sit down kind of story time of my trip down there, and I'll throw in some of those clips while I'm talking about it. So, and then last year during the springtime, when I started seeing a ton of videos of people running the races down in Florida, and me and one of my friends were just talking about how much fun it seemed like it would be, and we were like, we should do it. And so we kind of asked around some of our other coworkers and other friends, and so there was 3 of us who ended up wanting to do it, and we ended up, huge mistake, but we worked the day of the sign-ups, and I just remember it was completely hectic. 3 of us were there, and we were just like constantly refreshing the page, and I ended up being the one who got in first. And so I quickly signed all 3 of us up, because I think you have 10 minutes once you get in to get everything all signed up and have it go through. So I did the sign-ups, we all got in, and by the time we got on there, the 5K was already sold out, and we just weren't feeling a half marathon, because we knew if we went down there we weren't going to be able to make a long trip out of it, because all of us are just a little bit short on PTO, and they had some other bigger trips. We just knew it wasn't going to be feasible to do a long trip down there. So we were like, if we do the 10K, then we can do the race and still have enough energy to go to the parks afterward. And we each decided to pick a princess and dress kind of like them, which I was bummed because it ended up being colder than I planned, and I am such a cold person all the time that I was planning on wearing shorts. I had these really cute purple shorts and a yellow shirt, and I was gonna be Rapunzel. I was gonna have a little pink bow in my hair, and I ended up having to switch out the shorts for long pants last minute because it was 40 degrees that morning. So I didn't really look like Rapunzel, but it was fine. We wanted to be Jasmine, and she was like, I already have it figured out. So I ended up finding, I was just randomly looking at these, and I could see through the little box that one of them was a tiger, and I could tell it was Jasmine's. So I got her that, and then my other friend dressed as Ariel. So we had a little flounder for her. We don't really have too many pictures from it, just because we were so rushed and just trying to live in the moment. There was just so much going on, and we were just a little bit overwhelmed. And if there's one thing to know about me, is that I'm going to have stomach problems. Anywhere, anytime, I am constantly struggling with stomach problems. I always say that my body doesn't know the difference between excitement and danger. So anytime I get overly excited, overly nervous, my stomach attacks me. So the morning of the race, I was trying to really focus on my breathing, trying to stay calm, and so I was just not in the headspace to think about pictures. So we have a couple of them. We're only down there for, like I said, 2 full days. Our race was Saturday morning, super early in the morning, which I feel like was definitely the most challenging part of the whole race. But we flew down on Thursday afternoon. Our flight left at 1 o'clock. So by the time we got down to Florida and down to the actual hotel, I think we got to the hotel about 4:30 or so. So we ended up spending the evening in Disney Springs and just kind of exploring there. We were all pretty tired, and we'd eaten at the hotel because by the time we got there, it it was me and one of my friends, and our 2 boyfriends were on the same flight. And so then we like Ubered to the hotel. Our other friend had to work on Thursday, so then she flew down like late Thursday. I think she got in at like 11 p.m. or something down there. I think we went back to the hotel at like 8 o'clock maybe. We put on, and I started watching Aladdin because all the races for Run Disney are all themed, and so the ones that we were specifically doing were the princess races. So ours was themed after Jasmine, and I think the 5K was Mulan. The half marathon was, I think, Sleeping Beauty, and then they have like a challenge where you do, I think, the 10K and the half marathon, and that was Snow White. Went to sleep because my boyfriend and I bought 2 days of park tickets and park hoppers because we weren't sure which parks we wanted to go to, and just kind of wanted to explore everything because he hadn't been to Disney since he was a kid either. So we were just kind of, we're like, we're just gonna go and kind of do whatever we want, feel no stress of like having to be at specific places. And yeah, so I made it through about half of Aladdin, went to sleep, and went to the first couple of parks. So that day we started the day at Hollywood Studios, and I knew for sure we wanted to go there because when I went in high school they hadn't had the Star Wars thing on. I was like, I know I want to see that. My boyfriend's a huge Star Wars fan, so we definitely knew we wanted to go there. We figured that was the best place to start the day because since that was what we were most excited for, kind of felt like we should prioritize that. So we went there and did some exploring, and it was a ton of fun because we found out early on in the day too that my boyfriend and I are not big ride people. We went on the like Millennium Falcon ride, and that one's one where like you sit in a chair and it's like you're in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon, and there's like a virtual reality screen that's like moving around, and it like shakes you and kind of like tilts and rocks you a little bit. I have stomach problems with everything. I get car sick, I get motion sick on planes, so going on that ride was torture for me. I just like sat there gripping the handles because I could just immediately feel it like affecting me, and so we had to like keep on looking up all the rides and figuring out which ones were those virtual reality ones because that's just not something that I could do. And my boyfriend didn't do great with it either. He got like a really bad headache from it, and so we were like, yeah, that's not for us. But we still love the experience of being there, and just walking through the Star Wars section was so cool because it truly felt like you were somewhere else. And those were some of my favorite parts about the Disney places. I feel like all the ones looking back that stood out to me the most as being my favorite areas were the areas where it felt like you were somewhere else, where you were transported into the movies. While we were there, we knew we wanted to try to find some sort of souvenir. I'd looked at Disney Springs at potentially getting a shirt, but there was just none that really stood out to me because I typically get t-shirts almost everywhere that I've been, and I don't know, I kind of knew I was getting one from my race, and I got some other shirts online like for the trip. So we got a couple of pins while we were there. My boyfriend picked out this Stormtrooper one, which was cool. At the Star Wars area, I grabbed one of the packs of mystery pins, and because we've never gotten pins before, it was kind of fun because all of them were going to be new, and so we got one that had more different types of Stormtroopers. So we have this pin as well as this one that were from the little mystery pack. That was a ton of fun. As soon as we were like leaving that little souvenir store, we walked out and there was like Stormtroopers walking around, and they were like interacting with people, and they had like different characters that they were interacting with. But then from there we just kind of wandered around the rest of Hollywood Studios, and there was a few things that I knew I wanted to, like food wise, because I love a good snack, and I love a like specific thing that like you can only get somewhere. So there's a few things I wanted to get, and one of those was a Mickey pretzel because I'm not much of a soft pretzel person, but I have just always heard such good things about those. So I was like, we have to get a Mickey pretzel at some point, a Dole Whip, and a churro. Like, those are my necessities. Those are the things that I need to get before we end this trip. And so while we were at Hollywood Studios, we got a Mickey pretzel, and they had this like blue raspberry lemonade slushie at, it was some little store. There was like a bunch of, it's kind of like the main street of Hollywood Studios, and there was like a bunch of souvenir stores all around there, and that's where we got it from. But it was so good. We're at Hollywood Studios until about 12:30, and then we went to the expo at like, I think 1:30, 2 o'clock-ish, and I got my race day stuff. So from there they handed out shirts, which I got the men's one because I don't like v-necks, and the women's ones were only v-necks. So this was the little Run Disney shirt that I got, and it's one of those like dry fit, like really lightweight materials that I saw a few people wearing these like during the race or like at the parks after the race that same day. And then the back just has like the sponsors, and then the arm has Run Disney on it. So you get this shirt as a part of your sign up. You're guaranteed this, and then you get the medal when you finish the race. And they had some extra shirts and stuff that like we walked around the expo for a while, and they have different shirts that are specific for the races. They have some that are just like for Run Disney in general or for Princess Weekend. They have like specific pins and all sorts of different things there in the area where you pick up your bibs. So I also have my race day bib, which I'm going to try to figure out a way to display this as well. And then from there there's like a second section of the expo where they have a whole bunch of stalls set up that have like, you can buy shoes directly there, you can buy shorts and shirts and just like really anything that you could possibly need as a runner they had. So that was all there, and a lot of it was stuff that you had to buy, but they did have a few free things as well. They had some of the snack vendors that were handing things out, and we found out the next morning that that's also where you're supposed to get for when it's cold before the races. They have the little like, I don't know what they're called, but they're like a little plastic thing that you can like wear and keep the heat in and keep you warm before the race. We didn't find that out until at the race that that's where you were supposed to get them, so we didn't have those. So if you're running, make sure you get that at the expo because we were freezing the next morning. Got this pin that looks a lot like the medal and just says I did it, but the I did it like kind of slides down, so I'm gonna have it hidden. And I just thought this one was really pretty. I love the shape of the medal, and it has like a little genie on there. But those are what I got at the expo. So then we went to Magic Kingdom after that, and we weren't there all that long. We were getting a little bit tired by that point because we'd spent all morning at a park, and then we went to the expo, and I knew that I needed to be back somewhat early because, like I said, the race starts at 5 a.m. and they recommend you be at Epcot by 4 a.m. for the race. So that meant I was going to have to wake up at like 3 in the morning. We didn't spend nearly as much time as I would have liked at Magic Kingdom. We walked through a lot of it, but again, we didn't go on any rides there. We just kind of wandered around, and I did end up getting Dole Whip there because like you can get some Dole Whips at other places, but that was like the spot that I knew for sure you could get like original Dole Whip. We kind of got to the park, took the pictures at the like castle. So again, we went to a couple of souvenir stores, and I got some more pins, which I have put all of them on my little Lululemon bag that I was wearing at the parks. I really loved these little, they're like the Princess bakery set or something, but they're little like based off each of the princess, but these were like mystery ones all around the parks. If you get like duplicates or ones that you don't necessarily like from these mystery ones, like there's people who are working at the parks where you buy the pins. There's also people who like set up areas and you can trade all the pins around, which I think is so much fun. But I opened the Jasmine one first, and I thought it was just absolutely perfect because we were running the Jasmine race the next morning. And then I opened the Belle one, which again was perfect because I was wearing a Belle shirt that day, and I've been really starting to kind of relate more to her like now that I've gotten older. So picked up some because I wanted to give one to my brother. He's coming to visit in a couple of weeks, and so I was like, I want to pick up one that I could give to him. And ever since we were little, me and him have been huge Lilo and Stitch fans. It's like our go-to favorite Disney movie. We loved the TV show growing up, just all of it we absolutely loved. So I got a mystery pack of little like Stitch postcards. So there's this one of him hugging Lilo and this little one of him on the floaty that I'm probably gonna give this one to my brother, but I'll let him pick because he might like this one too. We stayed at the All-Star Sports Hotel because it's close to a lot of the parks. It was a more budget-friendly hotel, but they also have transportation to all the areas, so we didn't have to pay for a rental car, which I highly recommend. And I worried about the buses because I thought like it was gonna be a huge hassle, but most of the buses run to the parks like every 20 minutes, and all the parks were like maybe 15 to 20 minutes from the hotel. So truly, like, the buses were so great, and like it was not a hassle at all to do that method. So they also had free transportation to the race. They had like charter buses set up to go to all of the Disney hotels and pick up race day people, which was also convenient because I did not want to have a rental car or get an Uber at 3:45 in the morning and hope that they got us to the race on time. So when we got to Epcot, where they have all the starting stuff, we got there a little bit after 4 a.m. and they like drop you off in the main parking lot and then you have to like walk to a back area. It was like a whole area set up, and you bring like a bag of stuff they like give you at the expo that you can put like extra jacket or food or whatever you want, and they check that in with like a number that you can pick up after the race because you can't have anything with you during the race, and anything you take off during the race. So if you have like dress in layers, if you take something off and don't carry it, if you like toss it to the side, it gets donated to charity, which I think is a really nice idea. However, I didn't bring anything that I wanted to donate, and so I had one jacket that I wore to there and I put it in my bag when I checked it in. And then we kind of wandered around a little bit. There was like food trucks there, they had music playing, they had photo opportunities, and we met so many sweet people as we were walking who, you know, were asking if we'd done the race before, and we were talking about how we were nervous, and they were asking if it was our first time racing, and just everyone wishing us luck and just like cheering us on, knowing it was our first time being there. And the atmosphere of being at the race was the best part about the whole thing. And I'm not a huge runner. I'm trying to get more into running, but I'm just like slowly working my way to it. And with it being winter time, running was not just very feasible for the longest time. So I didn't do a ton of training before this race, so I was a little bit nervous about that. And just every single person at the beginning, like my friends kept asking if I was nervous, and we kept talking about how we were excited but we were nervous. And my other friend, one of my friends, was having like some stomach issues as well, and like every single person that came near us was like, you guys are gonna be great, like don't worry about it, as soon as the race starts, like it'll all go away and you'll just feel so amazing. And they were absolutely right, because like the second I started like actually going for the race, like all of my fears just vanished, and there's just so many people cheering you on the entire race. The race started at 5 a.m. but we were in one of the later groups, so our like set start time was at about 5:40 in the morning. But truly, once like the 5 a.m. started, they started sending people off, like once they started like announcing the start of the race and like the first set of fireworks went off, I feel like looking back the time flew by. In the moment I was just trying to keep my stomach calm. But I think my biggest thing was I was like standing still and I was so cold because we didn't have the little jackets. But yeah, so once you get into the corral, they like slowly start bringing groups forward one at a time. So we were in group F, which was the second to last starting like section of groups. And even within that group, they like split it into like 4 different waves, just depending on when people are, just to kind of space people out so that it's not such a herd of people. And I know like the first group of people are a combination of like Club RunDisney members, as well as like people who submit proof of time that they're gonna be like some of the fastest racers, because that way they're not having to like go around people, they can just run. And we ended up being in like the front section of our wave. Like they put the little line right in front of us, which was a ton of fun because we got to start like right at the line. We got to not have a big group of people in front of us. And we went, and my friends and I, we ran the whole first mile. Ran is a strong word. It was like jogged the whole first mile. And then from there, we were like going up onto a highway to get into the actual Epcot park. Our race took us around the world and like on the boardwalk, and it was such a fun experience. So beautiful to look at while I was running. And just so well organized. They had bathroom stops, they had first aid stops, all throughout this like highway section. And then once you got into the parks, like all the restrooms were open throughout the park so that you could stop in and use any of those. So they were like all so close together. Like anytime someone needed to go to the bathroom, there was pretty much one like right there. So they kept running. I kind of slowed down because I was like, I don't want to run uphill and make myself too tired. So I told them like, just keep going, like I'll catch you guys at the finish line. And at first I was really disappointed by that because I wanted it to be like a group experience. But the more I thought about it, the more I was okay with it, because I think if I would have stayed trying to stay with them, I would have either felt bad making them slow down to match my pace, or felt the need to like run more than I should have and potentially hurt myself. Not once did I feel like I was alone. I would run with people. There was like certain people, like anytime someone would run by, they'd like compliment people in their costumes, and it was just such a great experience, and I'm so glad that I was able to be a part of it. And especially once we got into Epcot and like the cast members throughout the parks were there cheering you on. They had like music stations set up that were like playing Disney songs throughout the race, and just the energy throughout the whole thing was so much fun. And when I got to the boardwalk section by Epcot, I got there when the sun was rising, and I have a clip of that, and it was just so beautiful to see the sunrise there. And there was like different little spots where like they would take photos while you were racing, and especially at the finish line, like there's so many photos from the finish line. At the end of the race, I was just so proud of myself for accomplishing it. And it's truly, like I said, Disney itself was like a dream of the last 2 years, but being a part of a race has been a dream of mine since I was in high school, and it was just such a great feeling. And I'm really glad that that Disney one was my first one, because like I said, even though I was running most of the race by myself, I was never truly alone. And I think it was fun going with friends, but I think if you don't have someone to go with you, don't let that hold you back, because there are so many people there supporting you even if they don't know who you are. It took me, my goal was to try to get the race done in around an hour and a half. I didn't set like any real time goal, but I was like, if I do an hour and a half, like I'll be pretty happy with myself. And I like verified that goal when I hit about the halfway point. My watch told me that I'd run like it like dinged at me when I had reached 5K, and I was like, I can absolutely do this in 90 minutes. So that was kind of my goal, and I reached it like on the dot. I was at exactly an hour and 30 minutes. And I didn't know this, but they have like an area after you run. They like hand out a bunch of stuff, and then you can go and get like your stuff from like where you checked it in. But then you can go and there's a whole bunch of bleachers like at the finish line. So they did theirs, got all their stuff, and went to the bleachers, and they ended up actually being able to watch me cross the finish line. And so then I went and got all my stuff and met up with them like as I was getting my bag of stuff from the truck. And it was just, I have such great friends, and they just ran up to me and we all gave each other a giant hug. And at that point I just remember I started tearing up, and they were just so supportive, and I was just so proud of myself. And I'm still so proud of myself that I was able to complete a race, because they'd done races before. Like this was fun for them, but like it was something that they kind of experienced before, and this was my first ever race day. And I try not to compare. Like I feel like sometimes it becomes so easy, especially with social media, to compare like people who run all the time, and to really like get so focused on the details of like, well, this was only a 10K, it wasn't a marathon, or I could have done it way faster. But point being, I did the race. I finished the race, and I'm just so proud of myself for that. And I just did. I started crying at that point because I was so excited that I did it, and so excited that I have such good friends who were there with me for it and along the whole ride. So then from there, a bunch of people go and take like additional pictures at the photo op areas with their medals, but we had planned on going to Epcot that day, so we did that. My boyfriend and I ended up meeting them like about 30 minutes after they got there, because when I got back to the hotel he was not awake yet, which was fine because it was, I think, like 7:45 when we got back to the hotel, so it was still super early. But we had matching shirts that weren't Epcot related at all. They were from Magic Kingdom. They were all the different like sections of Magic Kingdom. We just thought that they were cool shirts, and we thought it was fun that they were matching without being like we're wearing the same shirt. So mine was Tomorrowland. It was blue, and it had like a little Death Star on it and Stitch on it, which I loved it because it had Stitch. My boyfriend loved it because it had the Death Star. One of my friends picked the Frontierland one because it was yellow, and she's like, I love yellow. And the other one picked the Adventureland one that was like green and had Tinkerbell. And then there was a fourth one that's Fantasyland that was pink and had like a unicorn and a princess on it. Like that one was not so much us. So it was fun that we had the matching shirts. We, like I said, we had park hopper passes, so we met up with them, kind of did a little bit of the exploring with them, and then ended up kind of speed running the world, kind of just looking through. We were trying to find some kind of fun like lunch or food or something. We were gonna get macaroons from the French bakery, and then that area was super busy. And then at that point I could tell I was starting to get tired, because I think at that point we were about 12 miles of walking, and I was like, alright, let's like continue going around, but let's kind of make our way towards heading back to the hotel and, you know, taking a little bit of a nap. Like I was starting to get tired once I'd eaten food. So we continued exploring, and I think that was where we went and got a couple more pins. Yeah, it was. We ended up right at like the exit of Epcot. We went and got some more pins, and I got another set of the little princess bakery ones, and more of those, and hope to try to get either Ariel or Rapunzel, because again those were also who we were dressed up as. So I already had Jasmine. I was like, it'd be fun if I could get one more of those. So the first one that I opened I was okay with. I got this little Cinderella one with the little slipper, but then the next one that I opened was my Rapunzel, and I absolutely love this one. I think at some point I might, if I go back down and they still have these, I will try to get the Ariel one because I thought it was really cute. But then I also found, which I hadn't seen these at any of the other parks, like a lot of them had kind of repeat mystery packs, but they had ones that were the dogs of Disney, and I loved the first one that I got. But I was really hoping for, they had Lady from Lady and the Tramp, they had Copper from The Fox and the Hound, which I loved that movie so much growing up. That those were kind of the two that I was hoping to get, as well as, I can never remember his name, but it's the dog from Oliver and Company, another movie that I just absolutely loved growing up, and I feel like most people don't talk about it, but I loved that one. And then I got the little dog from, I think this is from Peter Pan, and it's the little dog with the little cups on its head, and I thought that one was really cute as well. But then we went back to the hotel and just kind of relaxed for a little bit, and at that point I was in a lot of pain. My knees were so tired by the end of Epcot that like it hurt to walk, and that was my own fault because we didn't really warm up before the race. We like warmed up a tiny bit and then stood in line waiting for the race to start for about an hour, just standing there shivering. And then we were like, we really want to go to Animal Kingdom, and so we went there, and I wish we would have been able to go there earlier because we got there at about 4:30 and the park closed at I think 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock. It was 7 because this was on Saturday. But the like safari ride closes at 5, which I didn't know until we like got to the park. So we kind of made a line back there to see how long it would take, and it said it was like a 45-minute wait, which would have put us like right after 5. And I was like, I don't want to wait in line for 45 minutes to then have them tell us it's closed and you're not going to be able to go on it, and then we just wasted 45 minutes. But the nice thing about Animal Kingdom is they do have some of the other animals that you can see without going on the safari. It's just not as many of them. I don't know, we went through some of the other like animal areas because they also closed at like 5:15. So we got to see those. We got to see one of the tigers, not the baby tiger. He was sleeping, but we got to see some of the monkeys and the birds and a peacock and the one tiger, some bison. So it's like a good variety of things. We got to see zebra. Still, I needed to have my churro. It was the one thing that I hadn't had yet that I was like, I need to have before we go. So I kind of like made a walk around trying to find any sort of churro, and I was not finding any. But then I remembered that I saw a video of a different kind of Dole Whip on TikTok that was at Animal Kingdom, and I was like, well, let's just go to the area that has that Dole Whip and we'll get that instead of a churro, and then head back because I was exhausted, I was tired, and our flight was at 9 a.m. the next morning. So we walked over there and they ended up having churros at that place as well. So then I was like, well, we get both, right? And my boyfriend was like, absolutely. And we got the best Dole Whip. I highly recommend. I forget what it was called, but it was at Animal Kingdom in like the dinosaur section. We ended up leaving Animal Kingdom at, I think, like 6 o'clock. Like, we didn't stay there the whole time. And we thought about potentially going to another park to like spend the evening, but I had my alarm set at 2:50 in the morning for the race. And I don't know what time I woke up, but I woke up at some point and refused to check my phone because I feel like when you wake up and then it's like you check your phone, then all you're thinking about is like how much time you have left to sleep. So I didn't do that, and I just kind of like laid there for a while, and then eventually my alarm went off. So I think I probably woke up at like 2:15 that morning, as we ended up walking 22 miles the day of the race, and it was just too much. So I have talked to my mom, and like I said, she wants to do the race with me at some point, and I was like, the next time I go, we're staying an extra night, and the day of the race, I'm not going to any parks. Because then if the race happens and I want to just eat some breakfast and relax for a bit, take a nap, I can do that and not feel guilty about like, well, we spent money for the parks, we need to go to all of them. I feel like that's a good day to just like explore Disney Springs and just kind of have a little bit easier day instead of so much going on in one day. But yeah, it was all so much fun, and the second we got back, I was like, I can't wait to do it again. And my boyfriend was like, well, we kind of experienced everything. Like, you don't want to go anywhere else? And I was like, no, I want to do another Disney race. And when I first joined the race, I was like, I feel like I could see myself doing this like every once in a while. Like, I did the Princess one. I know at some point I want to do the Halloween one out in California. But I feel like we plan on potentially moving to Texas at some point, so I'll probably do that one then because it'll be closer. Right now we're just such a quick flight down to Florida that these ones make more sense for us. But the last thing that I wanted to show you guys was my actual medal from the race, and they're nice medals. They are high quality. So like I said, I did the 10K that was Jasmine themed, so this is the medal that I got. So the one side has 10K with Jasmine and Jafar, has the year on it, and then the back side has like a little scenic view of the movie as well as the genie up at the top. And like I said, this is a nice medal. Some of the ones they have for some of the other races have like parts that spin on them, but yeah, I'm going to find somewhere to display this. Really enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm hoping to do another race next year, and probably because I know more of what to expect, I think I'm going to try to film more of the actual like getting ready and the race and everything. And so if you guys want to see more like running content, again, it's not going to be anything crazy. I'm a very casual runner. I did 10K in an hour and a half and I'm happy with it because I had fun while I was doing it. But like I said, I want to try to find some more 10Ks that are somewhat close to me. So if you guys want to see more running content, more training content, anything combining the two, because sometimes when I run, a lot of times when I run, I listen to audiobooks. If there's anything specific that you guys want to see, let me know in the comments below. And I just really rambled about this, but I think it was just such a fun experience, and I'm just really happy that I was able to be a part of it, and I really just recommend it to everyone, even if it makes it more difficult to get into the races. I just think it's something that people should experience, and especially like, I'm a fairly big Disney fan, so I feel like if you aren't a big Disney person, this isn't necessarily the race for you, but it's just such a low stress race that if you're not a huge runner and you love Disney, I would still recommend doing it. So those are my thoughts. But I really hope you guys enjoyed the video and the story time. And I will see you guys next week with some more book content again.